Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I have with me another very special guest, Rachel D.Greenwall. How are you, Rachel?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much
Wow,
for being
fabulous.
here.
That's what I like to hear from my guests, especially female guests. And this is a no because it pertains or it's germane to the conversation we're going to talk about being fabulous, I think, and finding your fabulicity in yourself,
Yeah,
if that's even a word. But so can you tell me what you do?
I am a life and spiritual coach.
Life and spiritual coach. Yeah. I like those kinds of people. I have a mixed relationship with those kinds of people, and naturopathy and acupuncture and all the new age stuff. But
Mhm.
there is something to say. I'm beginning to see more and more about life coach and stuff like this. So how did you find yourself in a situation where you started being a life coach? Yeah, putting aside your personal story first, then.
Yeah, so um, I just began to help people in the world and the community around me. Found that I was really good at it, and I was inspired by Tony Robbins because the boss that I had where I worked at the time said that I could be a lot like him. So I sort of investigated what it was that Tony Robbins did. I found that he was a life coach, and I got a life coaching certification from a education company online in order to give me a little bit more credibility. And I began branding myself as a life coach online. And the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, so you mentioned when we talked for the pre-interview, I don't want to, to divulge any professional secrets of the profession, but but I will do this a little bit. Just we and I specifically interview my guests before, but it's not important for what I'm going to say because you told me that you started this kind of journey from experiencing some kind of a spiritual awakening that happened at once with no warning signs. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's right.
can you speak to that experience?
Yeah, 100%. I did have a spiritual awakening in 2014 that prompted me to begin my own healing journey from addiction, trauma, and mental illness. And what that looks like when I explain what a spiritual awakening is, for me, I think it can be different for everybody, but for me, it was just a sudden and intense knowing of a lot of information that there was really no logical reason for me to know. And it was accompanied by visions of multiple pathways in my life that I could take and how those would kind of play out. So it was like, hey, if you keep going on the path that you're going on, then this is kind of what's going to happen and how bad it's going to be, and it will ultimately like lead to these awful situations and your death. And then if you go on this other pathway and you heal yourself and you follow your calling and purpose and do all these things, then it'll look like this and it'll be really great and you'll have this awesome life and you'll help lots of people. And I was like, oh crap. So yeah, let's do that. Let's do the good pathway.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you were a magnet for people or a cry, a shoulder to cry on, maybe for a lot of people. So how did you became come to be known as the support? I don't know, supporting a goddess. I don't know.
I like that term. I'll take that. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
borrow that and put it on my website. I'm the supportive goddess.
Yeah, the goddess of support. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did the things for myself first. I wasn't seeking to be somebody who was helping other people. I truly sought out to heal myself fully and completely. And when I needed something for myself, when I knew that I needed to learn how to set boundaries, then I would just kind of go home and Google like how to set boundaries, and I would binge all the material I could find. I'd buy all the books about setting boundaries and I'd read them all, and I'd ask, to go to therapy sessions and support groups. I'd be like, what about boundaries? Like, what about boundaries? And I just soak up all the information that I could find all around me about that subject that I needed, and then start applying it to my life for myself to help myself. And then so what happened was, by doing that and really just immersing myself in the knowledge of the subject that I needed for me, I came to know it very, very well, very thoroughly. And then so I would be sitting in support groups and at meetings and things, and other people would be going through that and be like, I know about it. Like, I'll tell you about boundaries, because I know all about boundaries now, since I just did nothing but learn about boundaries for 3 months straight. And I'm now a great boundary setter. So then I would tell other people about that information. And then so I really was good at rapidly healing myself and thoroughly healing myself. And so the more that I did that, and the more I, just stayed present in the recovery community, people began to know me as the person who knew all of the stuff about all of these subjects, because I learned it all for myself. And so, and I would just reach out to offer that hand if I saw somebody else struggling with the things that I have learned how to fix. Then of course I wanted to give it to them, so like, well, let me, do you care if I share with you about, so I know about that thing. And so that would just happen more and more every single week. And the next thing you know, people would be coming to me going, hey, I feel like you might be able to help me, because you're really good at this recovery stuff. You're really good at this healing stuff. Let me ask you a question. I'm like, sure. And then people began to think of me in other times, and they knew in their life would be going through something. They go, oh, well, you know what? I bet Rachel can help you, because she knows how to do this recovery stuff, and she knows how to do this healing stuff. And it just kind of happened like that, kind of organically and naturally, one person at a time.
So how does when someone comes to you, maybe you're the good Samaritan, shall we say? They're not Jesus, but you're the good Samaritan. But so how does a session or working with you, how does it look like? Is there a planned program or schedule that you have to follow? Are there things that you give to people to do, objectives they need to obtain during the process?
So both ways are good, right? So ruleless, limitless, unplanned experiences can be great, and then really structured, scheduled experiences can be great. And when it comes to structured and scheduled, that's what my online school is for. So I create courses that people can do on a self-help school, like an online college sort of thing. It's called I Am Raquel Academy. That's the name of my business, is I Am Raquel. And so they can go onto I Am Raquel Academy, which you can get to from my website, which is www.iamraquel.com. And you can take yourself through programs that are already laid out and structured, and you know what kind of information you're going into, and it comes with homework and it comes with things like that. So if that's the kind of person that you are, that's the pathway that I feel like would be right. And then working with me personally, one-on-one, is a lot more unstructured and what I would like to call an intuitive experience. So when I'm working one-on-one with somebody, I really connect to them and their energy. So I have, I come to find out in my healing process that I have some, I guess, sort of psychic gifts, psychic abilities. I don't really know how
I'd
people
like to think I have them too.
Yeah. So mine is just that I'm really empathetic, so I can connect deeply to somebody and I can feel the things that they feel. And then I have what's called claircognizance, which which is just a sudden knowing of information. Like I kind of described my spiritual awakening. You suddenly know that some things that there's really no logical reason why you know. So during connecting with somebody, I might be like, just suddenly have an answer for them that I never got that training. I never got that certification. I never went to school to know how to give somebody this information. And it's just intuitive to them. During that experience of connecting with them, I receive guidance spiritually that can help the person. So I love that route. But you can't, guarantee any sort of specific success, right? You can't say for sure that that's going to happen every time. So there's both pathways, and I kind of like to do a combination of things with people. I mean, of course, I'll use my formal education. I have formal education. I have a life coaching certification, a peer support specialist certification. I have a bachelor's of science and psychology. So I do tons of side trainings, and I take my own courses from coaches, and I'm constantly learning and growing in my formal education. But you can't reproduce an intuitive experience. And that's what I think is great about one-on-one coaching.
So I gather that you are working on an upcoming book, or that is being released being published, released. I don't know what
already published.
Yeah. Don't know what's the correct term. I forgot. But can you talk about the book, why you wrote it, what it contains, how can people get help for themselves or for other people, I don't know, through that book, and what are the main themes that are running through the book and why are they important?
Okay, for sure. Okay, so my book was published in November of 2019. It is called How to Wear a Crown, A Practical Guide to Knowing Your Worth. It was written because it was what I needed and it didn't exist already. I struggled with self-love, and through all my healing journeys, all of the mentors, all of the coaches, all of the greats that I would get help from were like, you need to love yourself. You need to love yourself. You need to just practice more self-love. But nobody could ever really tell me exactly how to do that. So I was like, how do you do it? What does it look like? Somebody tell me an action to take. And in my process of trying to do those things for myself and figure it out, I began to channel, and get guidance from the universe to help myself with the process. And it began to come out as a book. I kind of saw like I explained in my spiritual awakening, like a vision, right? I saw the book cover, and then I began to hear the words and the introduction start pouring out. And I was just like, oh, I got to write this down. Like, I got to write this down. Like, I had no intention really of writing a book. It just sort of, I always say that it was a gift from God to me, that he's allowed me to share with everybody. And so I give God all the glory for the book. It really, I might have some good language skills and good English skills. Like I was taught well how to be a writer. But as far as the healing content in the book, like that was a spiritual experience for me to receive that information. And it began based around, so a crown, the crown it refers to the crown chakra of the chakra system. And the crown chakra is supposed to be like your most enlightened chakra, that where you can be like most connected to your spiritual self. And so it speaks of that, and it refers of that, but in a more literal sense, with an actual crown on your head, like we have this vision. And I broke it down into the 4 rules of royalty, which are: speak to yourself like royalty, treat yourself like royalty, carry yourself like royalty, and honor yourself like royalty. And then so in those 4 sections will be tons of information about how to do positive self-talk and self-loving self-talk, how to do great self-care. And it sounds so surface level when I'm saying those things, self-talk, self-care, but it's so deep. And then, honoring yourself and how to have dignity and respect yourself and make these moves in your life that are self-loving, big actions. And then how to take those actions and the things that you do with your life to carry on the message and create this ripple effect of self-love and teaching self-worth to other people in the world, so that we can have a chain reaction effect of healing the world around us and bringing more self-love, which will inevitably bring more peace to our world if we can teach this concept to every person.
Yeah, every person needs to find some kind of perspective, have some kind of spiritual awakening. And we've opened another door, shall we say, another opportunity for people, and they will find out for themselves. I want to
Yeah.
thank you so much, Rachel. This has been wonderful, great,
Thank you.
organic,
Oh,
which is most important. And I think we'll have a lot of things to talk about in the future if you want.
yeah, I would love to. Can I share? I forgot to say like where to get the book.
Yeah, please do.
That's the most important part, right? How to get it. So they can get it. It's exclusively on Amazon for $9.99. You can just look up How to Wear a Crown, a practical guide to knowing your worth.
Yeah, nice. So thank you so much, and goodbye.
Have a good one. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.